Hello everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to be peeling back the layers on one of the absolute most enigmatic figures in modern Indian history, Jayalalithaa. Now, we aren't just looking at the big headlines or the massive political rallies that you probably already know all about. We're going way deeper than that. We're going to look at her hidden life, her intensely private journey, and the incredible sacrifices of a woman whose massive public persona completely overshadowed a deeply compelling personal story. Honestly, by the end of this explainer, you're going to see her in a completely different light.
So think about this for a second. What actually happens when a brilliant, quiet scholar is essentially forced into the glaring, unforgiving spotlight? You know, when most of us hear the name Jayalalithaa, we instantly picture the formidable political titan of Tamil Nadu, or maybe the glamorous silver screen idol. But here's the thing. That wasn't the life she originally wanted. Not at all. Beneath all that immense power and fame was a scholarly kid whose early life was marked by sudden loss, huge emotional voids, and just a desperate longing for something as simple as her mother's presence. The contrast between her unexpected origins and her famous legacy is literally nothing short of dramatic.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1. A disjointed early childhood.
To really understand the woman she became, we have to look at the fragmented, kind of disjointed world she navigated as a young girl. Jayalalithaa was born in February 1948 in Mysore, into a Tamil Brahmin Iyengar family. Now, her grandfather had actually been a surgeon for the Mysore kingdom, which sounds great, but the stability didn't last. By 1950, when she was literally just 2 years old, her father passed away after squandering much of the family's wealth. So this forced her mother, Vedavali, into pure survival mode. She first learned shorthand and typing to support the family, but by 1953, she had relocated to Madras, taking up acting under the screen name Sanjya. Meanwhile, young Jayalalithaa was left behind in Bangalore and Mysore under the care of her aunt and grandparents, waiting 5 long years before finally moving to Madras in 1958 to permanently reunite with her mom.
Now, right before we talk about that reunion, there's an absolutely incredible piece of trivia about her identity. Her family affectionately called her Amu, right? But for schools and colleges, they obviously needed a formal name. Well, they didn't just pick Jayalalithaa out of thin air. It was actually this beautiful combination of the names of 2 different houses she resided in while living in Mysore, Jaya Vilas and Lalitha Vilas. It's such a poignant detail when you think about it. Her very name literally carried the physical memories of her childhood homes.
But despite the beautiful name, those years away from her mother were incredibly hard. She later spoke very emotionally about the deep void she felt growing up in a different city. Her mom was out in Madras building a film career just to keep them afloat, while young Jayalalithaa waited patiently for the brief, fleeting moments they could share. She lived for the summer holidays, simply because it meant she finally had the opportunity to visit her mom. It was a childhood entirely defined by distance, and a profound sense of missing the absolute most important person in her world.
Moving right along to Part 2, the reluctant star scholar.
Now, what's really interesting about this part of her life is how everything shifted in 1958, when that wait was finally over. She moved to Madras, reunited with her mother, and entered an entirely new phase. And guys, she wasn't just a kid catching up on lost time. She was about to reveal herself as an absolute academic powerhouse. When she completed her 10th standard exams, she didn't just do well. She completely dominated, first place. She ranked first in the entire state of Tamil Nadu. Just imagine the intense focus and intellect required to achieve the highest marks across a whole state.
And this was definitely no fluke. She excelled brilliantly at the prestigious Church Park Presentation Convent. Because of her phenomenal state-topping performance, she was directly offered a government scholarship to further her education. She won the prestigious State Gold Award. And her next step? She got admitted into Stella Maris College in Chennai. Her original life's trajectory was crystal clear at this point. She was absolutely destined for a life of profound scholarship, intellectual pursuit, and academic greatness.
Which brings us to the ultimate dramatic question of her life. How in the world did a state-topping scholar, a young woman with a government scholarship, and a brilliant academic path laid out right in front of her, suddenly pivot to become an actress in the commercial film industry?
Well, that takes us to Part 3. Tragedies and family ties.
To answer that question, we really have to look behind the curtain of her public successes and examine the incredibly intense and often tragic family dynamics that dictated the course of her life. Here is the bittersweet truth of it all. She abandoned her academic dreams. She discontinued her studies at Stella Maris College, not out of some grand desire for fame, but purely due to intense pressure from her mother. Her mom, Sandhya, who had supported the family through acting,
pushed her brilliant daughter into that very same industry. For Jayalalithaa, it was the ultimate sacrifice. The scholar stepped back, and the reluctant star stepped forward, driven by this profound sense of duty and obedience she felt toward the mother she had spent her entire childhood longing for.
And this brilliantly illustrates how, despite that intense pressure, her devotion to her mother remained incredibly profound. Tragically, in November 1971, her mother passed away at the very young age of 47. Utterly heartbroken, Jayalalithaa honored her the best way she knew how. She built a stunning residence in Poe's garden and named it Veda Nilayam, after her beloved mother's real name, Vedavali. She held the housewarming ceremony in May 1972, filling the home with classical music and family. It was literally a monument to the woman who had charted the course of her entire life.
But Veda Nilayam also became the stage for a highly turbulent private life over the decades. Initially, her brother Jayakumar and his family lived there with her, but by 1978, they moved out to a different property. The family ties were just complex. Years later, in 1995, Jayalalithaa adopted Sudhakaran, who was the nephew of a close aide Sasikala. This caused a massive rift, making her brother deeply unhappy before he tragically passed away from a heart attack that very same year. And then, just a year later, in 1996, she completely disowned Sudhakaran. So behind the fortress of Poe's garden, her personal life was fraught with shifting loyalties and really tragic losses.
Let's move to part 4 and see how this builds, the multilingual animal lover.
To truly understand the woman she was behind closed doors, we have to step away from all the political and family drama for a second and look at the intensely guarded yet absolutely fascinating personal traits that defined her everyday life. Remember that brilliant scholar we talked about earlier? Yeah, she never truly faded away. Jayalalithaa was incredibly fluent in 6 languages. We're talking Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Hindi, Malayalam, and English. And she didn't just casually read them, she commanded them. Her intellect remained razor-sharp, allowing her to connect, strategize, and communicate across incredibly diverse cultural landscapes throughout her entire life.
So the crucial point here is how she actually used this brilliance in her personal and professional interactions. Take this quote from a former chief minister of Karnataka. He said he was utterly mesmerized by her Kannada slang and fluency. In fact, she was known to exclusively converse in Kannada with her close friends, like the actress Saroja Devi. And she even utilized it strategically when speaking with political rivals from Karnataka. It was kind of like her secret weapon, for sure a real testament to her sharp, adaptable mind.
And yet, alongside that formidable intellect was a very tender, deeply human heart. For years, she was a passionate animal lover, particularly fond of keeping dogs. But in 1998, her beloved Spitz, a dog named Julie, passed away. The heartbreak was so profound, so devastating for her, that she simply couldn't bear the thought of enduring that kind of loss again. From that day forward, she discontinued keeping pet dogs entirely. It's a small detail, I know, but it really speaks volumes about her capacity for love and the quiet grief she carried inside.
Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought. As we look back at the grand sweep of her life, from the lonely child waiting for summer, to the state-topping student forced to give up her dreams, right up to the multilingual leader navigating immense personal tragedy, we really have to ask ourselves, behind the powerful political titan and the legendary silver screen actress, do we ever truly see the private scholar who, at her core, just wanted her mother? It's a question that reframes everything we think we know about her immense public legacy. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the hidden life of Jayalalithaa. I hope this explainer gave you a totally new perspective, and I absolutely cannot wait to explore our next topic with you.